Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. Okay, so let's go through planetary translations, if you will, for the rest of the year. So when we have so many abusive patterns that are carrying out over thousands of years, so we're abusing children. So education is taken a digger. This is accumulation. And again, nobody's keeping track of this because nobody thought they needed to keep track of this back in the day, or those records have been destroyed or withheld or whatever the hell happened. This has never happened in recorded history. I'd be willing to bet it has. It's just we don't have access to those records. So when we are looking at or through the lens of how we have chosen to behave towards children, we're going to start with education. It's at the bottom of the list, but I feel like it's most prevalent because you can kind of see teachers are quitting. They we can't handle this energy. What the actual ever living? And it's because we have lost any sort of semblance of ourselves from childhood. So we, of course, for whatever reason, have extreme amnesia as to what it was to be a child. And the one thing that you can kind of trace back is this disconnect to trauma. Wanting the general populace, I should say, wanting to protect the child from trauma. Okay. And that's been coming down the generations, wanting our children's lives to be better than what we had. Now, that's a natural human instinct. Okay. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Okay. Or how it's supposed to crumble. Okay. Now, there are definitely people who fell off that train. I'm not saying that's not a thing either. But what I'm telling you is that we have for so long not held children in any sort of sanctity, any sort of sovereign autonomy. They were more or less things to be molded, to be manipulated, to be controlled, to be coerced, what have you. Not raised. Not raised. I very few people I know have been raised. Now, if you think about those words, uh, raised, to raise someone up, to uplift them. Okay. And then have a society on the outside tearing them down left and right. Okay. So, and no, I'm not talking like weird delusional parent raised them up. I am talking about, yeah, I see you fucked up there, but you need to go back and make it right so you can rise. Okay. Or, if you do it this way instead of that way, you will have a better outcome. That's raising. This enabling thing is not the same as raising. Constant verbal praise and then they F up and then you get emotionally dysregulated and get angry at them. That's not raising a child. Anyway, so when we have an education system that's not only being vetted, you know what, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that through the doom scrolling over my coffee 5-10 minutes ago, I might have seen the article or a snippet on TikTok about how the current meat puppet is going to retract or deny red states their public funding, which would mean schools, but it will also mean like child protective service, social services, elderly services. And so it comes on the heels of a woman calling churches to see if they would help with baby formula. And the majority of those churches saying, yeah, your little one is just going to have to suffer. And then when they were exposed, the woman was demonized, if you will, witchized for having the foresight to say, hey, I see the collapse of society. Can we lean on these people? The answer is off to the no. So, which brings me, okay, let's finish off on education, but we'll translate into religion and how that's all. So the education, nobody cares about children. Now you can scream and blah into the freaking void about how much you love children and how much you care. But when the rubber meets the road, who's out there advocating for children? Okay, right, the parents. And the problem is the teachers and the staff and the whatever else are like, they're fucked. And it's like, we live with the children every day and we're trying to do what's best for them. But the parents never know. Parents don't know anything. Parents are shit. And so then that war started where like the parents are like, but this is happening. And the school is like, no, this is happening. So everybody's right, but nothing's being done for the child. Do you notice how that played out? Is there was a war, but nothing was being done for the child. So it didn't matter how much advocacy. There's entire institutions that used to exist in reality that would be advocation for the children in the school system, especially the disabled children in the school. The entire companies and corporations and retired lawyers and whatever else advocating for the rights of children with disabilities or minorities or whatever. Entire corporations, which are now extinct, but hey. So that's what I'm telling you, is there was a very small group of people that advocate for children, but as a whole, we've never made really any progress on the rights for children. And I'm not talking screwing with their sexual organs. I am talking about when they feel like they are being bullied in the classroom, something's actually done about it. When they feel like they are experiencing mental health issues, there's advocacy for that. When they feel overwhelmed by the system and the parenting and the whatever, high school and having to deal with parents' stipulations and whatever else, there's no advocacy for the children. There's parents that are doing it wrong and teachers that are doing it wrong. Staffing that's screwing it up, and step parents or God forbid it be a single mother. Okay, so you get the point. The constant blame shifting and whatever else with no advocacy for the purpose of getting it going in a semi-cohesive direction for the actual child that is one day going to be an adult, sort of, in some cases. Whatever, okay? So now pricing for college is skyrocketed to the point where if you're not in a tax bracket, there's no way, you got a snowball's chance of hell of getting your kid through college. Period, the end. Snowball's chance at home. Okay. Then you've got reading and writing down off the butt of that. So that's opening the floodgates for telepathy, but are we going to be allowed to spread that in a cohesive manner? Or is it going to be freaking psyoped and hijacked by philanthropy? Or is it going to come online genuinely? So I would suggest your step number one there would be getting safe in the body and then find somebody who can teach you how to do telepathy. Natural, not remote viewing, telepathy. Okay, next, religion. So the Abrahamics are being deconstructed constantly. We're seeing a lot of people wake up to the fact that like religion does a lot of harm. Religion parasites a lot of bank accounts, and religion doesn't do anything for the communities. It really, really doesn't. It's just a massive energetic siphoning, if you will, of the human spirit. And it's for the consent of the atrocities that are happening on the globe that we are now seeing the unveiling of, whether it be a genocide or a human trafficking, pedophile ring, whatever those things are, right? Being unveiled at the moment. You can trace those back to biblical texts. You don't need a Greek version to do that. You can trace it back to the biblical text. That's the energetic pattern that we are consenting to. We give our consent to it because we didn't bother reading the fine print. We just listened to the authoritative figure at the front of the room giving us all kinds of threats, and then warms and fuzzies when those threats didn't end our lives. Okay? And if you need to go figure out what that is, look up what a religion means to bind again. So that would be before religion, they would have called it a binding spell in various religion or various cultures all over the globe. Originally, they were designed to keep those who could not stop harming themselves or other people in kind of a mental prison. Okay, that's what they were developed for. That's what they exist for, is a mental prison, so you don't need bars. I'll let you. It's a topic for another video. So the Abrahamics especially are seeing a downfall. I think we're seeing a lot more people not only getting off of the religious trains globally, but also not adhering to any atheist patterns either. And I'll get into that in just a second because science is on my list too. But religion is the energetic consent that we give to the community and the powers that be to do horrible things. And again, it's all there written out in black and white in fine print. It is a soul contract. And, the atheists are like, they don't have a soul. There's no soul. Okay, well, they still use it as a power source, as a battery, whatever the heck you want to call it. The thing that science can't figure out how it runs. The thing that's, underneath our rib cage. Not pumping blood. Because science does not like math. And math does not like science. My friends. I can't I can't reiterate that enough. Science does not like math, and math does not like science. And we're not going to compare and contrast numbers because science and religion are in direct competition for how sexily they can get body count. And I don't mean it in like I slept with XYZ amount of people. I mean it as in like, hey, look how many people I conned into approving this is a good way to go for off the planet. And I know science is like, we do so much good. No, you don't. Gain zero function bullshit. How about eugenics? Throw that in their face. Next time you have an atheist pushing science in your face, go, okay, eugenics, gain of function. How about that military complex contract you got going there with all the new technology that requires a lot of science? We can't mention math. Again, if they have to look at numbers, they're going to be very upset. So science is on the list too, obviously. And how do they break their own system down? I think I referenced this a few times, is the Soul Asylum song. Go listen to Misery. We could build a factory. We'll make misery. Poison household items. Poison the crap out of the food. And when they want to go out and get in contact with the earth, we will poison the chemicals they have to use there too. Okay. I'm here to tell you right now that when anyone tells you to go touch grass, they're giving you a death threat. A direct death threat. And I have a sneaking suspicion some of them know this. They're just on a weird yay extinction trajectory because they think it's a wise thing because, well, we're not very responsible for our own energy here as humans because we refuse to look at how it conducts itself. But science is the same way. Science refuses to look at what they're like. Look at it's so pretty, but don't touch it. Leave it behind the glass. Don't touch it. Energy is everything. Everything's energy, but don't touch it. Don't touch it. And it's like, what? And then when we do touch it, because we can, it's everywhere. Hello. They're like, that's so woo-woo. No, it's called wisdom. You're bringing your knowledge into your daily practice. That's wisdom, not woo-woo. Ooh, okay, so food, garden, chemical, and then so when you get poisoned and like get this dis-ease in your body because you've allowed yourself to not be fully present and know what's happening to you and be vigilant about all these energetic forces coming in to hijack your system. And that's what's happening. But I mean, they plan it so your life is, 40-hour work week to the point where you get home from work and you barely have enough energy to like cook dinner, shovel it in your face and lay on the couch for an hour and a half, maybe after all the chores are done. And then you got to see what I'm saying? So it's hard to get to this point where you're willing to investigate. And we had our shot over Rona. So if this is all like, oh my God, what? You got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of homework to do. So after all that is, and then there's detergent, laundry detergent. They put it in the water, nano. On the furniture, probably on the cloth, whatever. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, the air. Yeah. Everybody's like, there's no such thing as chemtrails. Okay. Anyway, so we're being inundated. So when we can't get our bodies to a state of homeostasis, if you will, some things can go awry. And so we have the medical institution to assist in such endeavors. And a lot of times it's like, well, you have this thing, and we're not quite sure what this thing is because we're still testing it in the environment. So we're just here observing how you're reacting to it. We're never going to tell you what it is because, well, we don't know. Now, I'm sure that the doctor you're seeing doesn't know. They have no idea that like the stuff you use on the grass could put warlords behind prison bars, darling. They have no concept. They're not told that. They're told to ignore that stuff. I think they tried to hint to it though when House was airing. The TV show about the smartass doctor who was he wasn't very nice, yeah, but he got the freaking job done. And that, people have this weird notion that everything is supposed to taste sugary sweet and like a cookie, when the painful truth is if it goes down soft and sweet, you're not going to remember it as much. Whereas if it's a prick, you're going to remember it. It's going to leave a mark, which instills you, hey, I remember what happens when I go down that path. Don't want to do that again. Okay? So there's a nuance there that can be said for someone who delivers something in a particular way. It's not necessarily traumatic. It might be like eye-opening and jarring, but it's not sugarcoating and it's not letting you live in delusion. It's saying, maybe I should readjust how I'm going about my life a little bit. Maybe I should think about that. And they addressed it through looking at the environment, the pigeon poo or the leaky faucet or whatever the heck it was, right? Causing some sort of weird dis-ease in the body. Okay. So then they're like, we have the cure, which is usually not it. We have the thing that'll numb the symptoms, that'll cause more problems. That way you're on more than one prescription. And then we get to parasite your bank account for the rest of your life. And if you get the big parasitic C, we're going to ensure that not only do we parasite it once, but we're going to make sure that you need to come back in about 10 years when you get the big parasitic C again, because we installed it. So, if you don't know how radiation works, boys and girls, that's exactly how it works. Okay, so it's not about health. It's about how much can we parasite out of the people that we torture. They call it health, and there's people that will scream and shout from the hilltops that I've been cured because of this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, their quality of life is okay. And it's tragic. It's horrible. It's terrible. I'm not saying it's not, but at the same time, if we don't start getting real about our current state, we're going to have a lot more. And it'll be intentional at this point. It's willful. It's willful at this point. After gain of function hit the fan in 2020, we can't. What are you even doing? I mean, really. I can't. There's nothing more that could be so unveiling and so obvious. It is tragic when somebody spends so many years of their lives, right? So many years invested and so much money, sacrificing time with loved ones, family, friends, and whatever else, because you got to be on the grind to get through this process. And I am here to tell you, it is freaking hellacious. It's borderline torturous. It is like they are installing Stockholm syndrome into their anybody who wants to work in the ER system or in urgent care. They did not do a very good job in-house or whatever, the Grey's Anatomy, of demonstrating just how horrific the conditions to become a doctor are. It's horrific. And they have to go through that. And they are going through that thinking that they are going to be on the other side assisting humanity. And then to come and find out that that's not the case. Can you imagine? What are you going to do? You spent your whole freaking life suffering for this system. Suffering. Paying dearly to be a part of this system. At the same time, they're dropping like flies. They're all dropping like flies. The nurses, the doctors, okay? Education, same thing. Everybody's dropping like flies. Science is starting to wake up and realize that, we know all this really cool stuff, but we're actually using it against humanity rather than for it. Weird. And then religion is starting to, religious folk are starting to figure out, I was told this was going to save humanity, when actuality, it is offering humanity up on a human slaughter sacrifice slab. But not before torturing and mutilating the crap out of them in every conceivable way. So we're kind of waking up to the system being geared towards, getting as many pentacles as they can from the... It's like a giant malicious computer game where you're trying to get all the resources out of the NPCs, if you will, and then make yourself some sort of hero or god for saving something that you had all the hands in destroying. Kind of like The Boys, that hero story with Homelander. That was such a great series. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's called The Boys. It's good. So, which leads me to the next whatchamacallit, politics. So both sides have advocated for our demise. Okay, and if you want to be in denial about that and go through a cognitive dissonance hissy, please do it in someone else's comment section, because we know it's a 3-ring circus, and that it doesn't matter which party gets in office. Everybody that runs for office that gets elected has a scene of the Epps file on them. It's a requirement, along with a particular tax bracket. I would argue that maybe a particular tax bracket requires an Ep of the Steen file. I would, that'd be a thing to study. That'd be a thing to study, to see, if he was in charge of like the global elite vetting process, maybe. I was for sure Tate was going to get that job, but now he's back in freaking fighting. Must have done not qualified for the... He got busted. So they got to get somebody in there that's not been busted. So maybe it's Oprah. I don't know. We're going to have to look into who is at the Diddy parties. Who is the person procuring the most, with receiving the least amount of attention. So that'll be interesting to figure that out, who they installed as their procuring agent. It'll be interesting. It'll be fascinating. Okay, politics. So, yeah, both sides have been passing laws back and forth every time somebody else is in office. They're like, I can't do this, but I'm going to pass a law that'll make sure you can do this. And then the next person says, okay, I'm going to, jump through that loophole you just created, or that, nobody has freaking rights to privacy in this country anymore. So I'm going to mass surveil. Okay. They've all been doing it. All of them. Not just the Republicans or just the Dem. They're all working together for this same agenda. That's a really difficult, fact that we have way more than enough evidence for, because there's a whole slew of presidents back there that just pass law after law after law, no matter who was in office. We are harping on Trump right now like nobody's business. Do you know how many wars Obama started while he was in office? He started 7 wars in 8 years and got a Nobel Peace Prize. Not a peep was mentioned. Nothing. That's terrifying. And then you've got Bush, who just trashed all of our rights because, that thing in September that nobody wants to talk about or look at. It was a massive awakening, I think, for a lot of people. But that was like the kind of the tipping. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and we couldn't do anything about it. But boy, did we really start paying attention after that. We really started paying attention. Started documenting shit, taking notes. It's a thing. Humanity did manage to get its shit together about, I think we better pay a little bit more close attention to what the hell they're doing over here, because it ain't good, kids. And so, bravo to the humans that have done that. Freaking hats off. Kudos. That's probably not going to stop. But if you hadn't noticed, these things are all kind of created in a particular time period. I call him the Baconator. Francis Bacon definitely set up science and religion, where he was vetting the society of all the people that knew about medicine, nature, spirituality, how to keep a tribe together, how to come together as a community, how to assess people in the community to put them where their strengths were rather than shovel them into a system where it's just slave labor and you have to become a mindless zombie in order to function 8 hours a day. We would take people and really assess what they love to do, what they lit up doing. And then we would say, okay, this is your calling. This is what lights you up. This is where you're going to produce the most good in the community. This is going to be really good for us because we have such beautiful, wonderful energy flowing through whatever the heck this is. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. There's janitors out there that love their job because they comprehend that they are literally keeping the people who come into their clean spaces safe. If that's not the bestest, most amazing way you can show that you love humanity is keeping spaces like clean and toxin free, some people dig that stuff. And they should, because it does a huge service for the freaking community. It's nothing to poo-poo. The janitors should be getting the billionaire, whatchamacallit, for having to deal with everybody's crap. Anyway. Tangent. The idea that we gave basically infants. I mean, especially back in the day, like the kings didn't even wipe their own rear. And then you've got the whole slew of people. Oh, that's not a topic for today. Focus. Okay. Where were we? Politics. So we've got a lot of people being puppeted while the billionaires are running the show. Because if you hadn't noticed, the billionaires are running the show. We don't live in a democracy. The democracy was hijacked. Because why? Because democracy is so easy to be hijacked. Why? Because it's patriarchal. Why? Because hierarchy and every little propaganda thing that flows down from it is really easy to maintain as long as you keep the people sick enough to where they can't self-educate. They can't go out and comprehend how nature works for themselves because they are too busy fending off trauma and illness. And the kids coming into the system already see that. And they're like,